My team lead mocked my accent in front of the entire sales floor and said, "You should stick to data entry. Talking clearly just isn't your thing." I stayed silent, took notes, and complied with his request to stop presenting in meetings. 1 week later, our biggest client emailed me directly. "Where's that brilliant analyst who actually understands our needs?" I forwarded it to his manager. He was pulled from every call by noon. It still burns in my chest when I think about it. This happened just a few months ago, and it changed everything for me. I work in Austin, Texas, at a mid-sized tech company. I'm a data analyst, been here for almost 3 years. I handle client data, build models, find trends, make sense of messy information. I like what I do, and honestly, I'm good at it. I've always been the kind of person who lets their work speak for itself. I'm not flashy, not loud. I just get the job done. But apparently, that wasn't enough for some people. Specifically, my team lead, Mark. He's in his mid-40s, white, Midwest accent, thinks he's God's gift to the sales team. From the first day I started, he had it out for me. He'd talk over me in meetings, dismiss my ideas, act like I was just there to push numbers around without understanding the bigger picture. It wasn't just annoying. It was a pattern. The worst part? He'd always make these little digs about my accent. I'm from Queens, born and raised, Puerto Rican family. Yeah, I have an accent. It's part of me. I never thought it was a problem until I started working under Mark. The breaking point happened during a Thursday morning meeting. This was a big one, our weekly sales floor sync. The whole sales team, marketing, analytics, even the VP sometimes. I was presenting findings for one of our biggest clients, a major CRM company we'd been working with for months. I had spent weeks building a model to clean up their dirty data, identify bad leads, and streamline their sales process. I was proud of the work, and honestly, it was a game changer for the client. I started presenting, breaking down the numbers, explaining the impact. And then, right in the middle of my sentence, Mark cut me off. Loud. Sharp. Hold up, hold up. Can we just stop for a second? The whole room went silent. You could hear the AC humming. I felt everyone's eyes on me. Mark leaned back in his chair, grinned, and said, "Maybe you should stick to data entry. Talking clearly just isn't your thing." The way he said it, slow, deliberate, like he was making a joke for the whole room. Some people laughed. Some shifted uncomfortably. Nobody spoke up. I felt like I got punched in the gut. My ears rang. My face burned. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck in my throat. I just sat there. Nodded. Closed my laptop. I didn't say a word. After the meeting, he came over to my desk, smirking like nothing had happened, and said, "Let's keep you focused on the data, yeah? We'll let others handle the client-facing stuff." I nodded. Said, "Sure." Then I went home that night, sat in my apartment, and thought about everything. The years of hard work. The times I'd gone the extra mile for clients. The nights I'd stayed up late cleaning up bad data that wasn't even my responsibility. I felt humiliated. But more than that, I felt angry. So damn angry. I remembered what my mom always told me when I was a kid. You don't need to fight every battle with your mouth. Sometimes you fight by staying silent, by being smart. So that's what I did. I kept my mouth shut, went back to work, and did exactly what Mark wanted. I stayed in the background. But I paid attention. I took notes. I kept every email, every report, every little comment clients made. Then, exactly 1 week later, it happened. I got an email from that same big client. Not to the team. Not to Mark. To me, directly. Subject: Where's that brilliant analyst who actually understands our needs? I stared at the email for a long time. The body of the email was even better. They praised the reports I had built, said they felt like I was the only one who actually listened to their pain points, and they specifically asked for me to handle their account going forward. No mention of Mark. I didn't reply to the client. Instead, I forwarded the email straight to Mark's boss, the VP. No extra words. No explanations. Just a simple forward. By noon that day, Mark had been yanked from every single client call. Every project he was leading? Gone. The VP started leading meetings instead. Mark sat in the corner silent, taking notes like a junior analyst. I heard from a friend in HR that Mark had been advised to consider his options. He stopped coming to the office the next week. Me? I was in every client meeting after that. Clients started asking for me by name. My accent? Nobody seemed to care anymore. Funny how that works. I'm going to tell this straight because I'm still pissed, even months later. I'm not the type to write about my life online, but what happened was so messed up, I can't let it go. Maybe someone out there needs to hear it. I work at a mid-sized tech company in Austin, Texas. I've been there for almost 3 years, working as a data analyst. I'm from Queens, Puerto Rican family, born and raised. Yeah, I've got an accent, fast talking, a little New York edge, I know. But I'm damn good at what I do. I take messy data, clean it up, find insights, build reports. I've had clients tell me straight up they finally understand their numbers because of me. I like helping people, solving problems. I'm not trying to be the loudest voice in the room. I just want to do my job and do it right. But not everyone saw it that way. Mark, our team lead. Mid-40s, white guy, from somewhere in the Midwest. He's been with the company forever, thinks he's the smartest person in every room. The kind of guy who talks over you, steals your ideas, makes passive-aggressive comments, and acts like it's all just a joke. From the day I started, Mark treated me like I didn't belong. He'd interrupt me in meetings, brush off my suggestions, and throw little comments about my communication style. I always let it slide. I figured if I kept working hard, my results would speak for me. But then came that meeting. It was a Thursday, our weekly sales sync. The whole floor was there, sales, marketing, analytics, even the VP sometimes drops in. I was presenting on a big client project I'd been working on for weeks. I'd built this predictive model that identified bad leads and flagged problems in their CRM. It was solid work. I was breaking down the numbers when Mark cut me off. Hold up. Can we just stop for a second? His voice boomed across the room. I froze. Everyone looked up. He leaned back in his chair, smirked, and said loud, so the whole damn floor could hear. Maybe you should stick to data entry, alright? Talking clearly just isn't your thing. People laughed. Not everyone. A few looked down. Some shifted in their chairs. But nobody said a word. I sat there stunned. My hands shook under the table. My throat tightened. I wanted to say something, to call him out. But I didn't. I just sat back, nodded slowly, and closed my laptop. Mark kept going, like nothing had happened. After the meeting, he walked by my desk, patted the back of my chair, and said, "Let's keep you focused on the numbers, yeah?" Smug as hell. That night, I went home and sat at my kitchen table until 2 a.m., replaying every word in my head. I was humiliated. Angry. But I knew what I had to do. I kept quiet. Kept working. I didn't argue. I didn't complain. I did exactly what he told me. Stayed in the background. Then, exactly 1 week later, I got an email from that same client. Not the team. Not Mark. Me directly. Subject line: "Where's that brilliant analyst who actually understands our needs?" I opened the email, and my jaw dropped. They were glowing. Said the reports I'd sent were the clearest they'd ever seen. Said I actually listened to what they needed. They wanted me in every meeting going forward. Me, not Mark. I didn't even respond to the client. I forwarded the email straight to Mark's boss, the VP of sales. No extra words, no explanations. Just the forwarded email. By noon that day, Mark was off every single client call. Every project he'd been leading? Stripped. The VP started running meetings instead. Mark? He sat in the back, silent, taking notes, like he was invisible. A week later, I heard through the grapevine that Mark was considering his options. He stopped showing up to the office after that. Me? I kept working. Clients started requesting me by name. My accent? Nobody gave a damn anymore. And I'll be honest, there was a moment when I thought about quitting after what happened in that meeting. But now, I'm glad I stayed. Let's just say, Mark learned the hard way that you don't mess with the quiet ones. After that day Mark got benched, I thought it was over. I figured he'd lay low for a while, maybe even apologize at some point, but I should have known better. Mark wasn't the kind of guy to take a loss quietly. The next few weeks, I could feel him lurking. He wasn't leading meetings anymore, wasn't on client calls, but he started finding other ways to make his presence known. It started small. He'd leave me off email threads accidentally, forget to forward important documents, or leave my name off project updates when he sent reports to leadership. Then it got worse. One day, I overheard him talking to another analyst, Brian, at the coffee machine. He didn't know I was there, just around the corner. Mark said, "You know, I don't think my name is cut out for client-facing work. Sure, they're good at the technical stuff, but you need someone who can communicate, properly. Without distractions." Distractions. That's what he called my accent. Brian didn't say much, just an awkward chuckle and a, "Yeah, I guess." But it pissed me off. I could feel the tension building. Every little jab, every undermining comment. It was all leading somewhere. Then the big one hit. 2 weeks after the client email, I got called into a performance review meeting with HR and the VP. Mark wasn't in the room, but I knew he was behind it. They said there were concerns about my communication skills, that some team members felt I wasn't collaborating effectively, and that I should focus on support roles rather than client-facing work. I sat there stunned. It was like déjà vu. But I was ready this time. I opened my laptop, pulled up a folder I'd been keeping, emails, notes, client feedback, even recordings of meetings, legal in Texas, by the way. I laid it all out, the client's email praising my work. Feedback from other clients asking for me by name. The reports I'd built, the insights I'd delivered. A timeline showing how Mark had been excluding me from communication after the incident. And yes, the recording of Mark's comment about my accent being a distraction. The VP's face went pale. HR looked uncomfortable, scribbling notes like crazy. I finished by saying, "I'm happy to stay in my role and continue supporting our clients. But if the concern here is my ability to communicate, I'd like to understand what specifically the issue is, because from the feedback I've gotten, the clients seem pretty satisfied." Silence. Then the VP muttered something about miscommunication and misunderstanding, and that they'd look into it. 2 days later, Mark was gone. Just gone. No farewell email, no announcement, nothing. Word around the office was that he'd been let go for behavioral issues. Me? I got a raise. I got a promotion. And every time a client asked for me by name, I remember the look on Mark's face that day in the meeting, the smug grin, the laughter in the room. I remember how I stayed quiet. How I took notes. How I kept my head down and let my work speak for itself. And I remember the exact moment it all turned around. Sometimes you don't need to fight back loud. You just need to let the truth hit them where it hurts. Let me know if you want me to keep going with more twists. After Mark got quietly pushed out, I thought it was finally over. I figured he'd pack up, lick his wounds, and move on to screw up someone else's career. But no. Mark wasn't done yet. A couple weeks later, I started getting weird emails. First, it was minor stuff. Meeting invites I never got, project updates that somehow skipped me, clients being assigned to other analysts without explanation. Then I noticed something worse. A report I had built, the exact report I'd spent weeks fine-tuning for that major client, showed up in a company-wide newsletter. Mark's name was on it. Not mine. It was my work. My analysis. My model. But there it was, under his name, as if he'd been the one who'd done the heavy lifting. I felt my blood boil. I went to the VP. Showed her the original files with timestamps, emails from the client specifically thanking me, and even screenshots of Mark forwarding my report to himself before he got pulled from the account. The VP's reaction was weird. She seemed annoyed. Not at Mark, but at me. Like I was causing drama by bringing it up. She said, "Look, I understand you're frustrated, but Mark has a long history with the company. Let's just focus on moving forward, okay?" I left her office shaking. That night I couldn't sleep. I was furious. It wasn't just about the report. It was about everything. The years of being dismissed. The digs at my accent. The silent theft of my work. The way leadership kept sweeping it under the rug because Mark was part of the old guard. So I made a decision. I started digging. I went through old project files, email chains, anything I could find. And the more I looked, the more I realized Mark had been pulling this crap for years. Taking credit for other people's work, manipulating data, even fudging numbers to make his performance look better. And then I found the bombshell. An old client report, one that had gone sideways months before I even started at the company, had been altered. Mark had changed numbers to cover up a missed deadline. There were emails where he told the client the data was clean, even though it wasn't. That same client had ended up dropping us, and the company took a financial hit because of it. I printed everything. The emails, the reports, the timestamps. I even had a couple of coworkers who quietly confirmed they'd seen Mark pull this kind of thing before but were too scared to speak up. Then I sent it all. Not to the VP. Not to HR. I sent it straight to the CEO. I'll never forget that Monday morning. The office was buzzing by 10 a.m., people whispering, phones ringing, managers pacing like their shoes were on fire. By noon, the CEO had flown down from our headquarters in Chicago. Mark wasn't at his desk. The VP looked like she was about to vomit. By 2 p.m., Mark was escorted out by security. No goodbye, no explanation. Just gone. But the fallout didn't stop there. The VP got demoted for failing to report concerns. HR scrambled to cover their asses. A few other managers who had been in Mark's pocket either left quietly or got reassigned. Me? I got called into the CEO's office that afternoon. He looked me in the eye and said, "You've done this company a huge favor. From now on, you report directly to me." I didn't say much. Just nodded and thanked him. But inside I felt something shift. For the first time in years I felt seen. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to fight dirty. I stayed quiet, took notes, and waited for the right moment. And when it came, I made sure they all felt it. After the CEO called me into his office and thanked me for blowing the lid off Mark's mess, I figured that was it. That Mark was gone for good. That the company would clean up the mess, I'd get back to work, and the whole thing would fade into the background. But it didn't. The fallout was far from over. The day after Mark was escorted out, the CEO sent an all-staff email. No sugarcoating, he laid it out clear: there had been serious breaches of ethical conduct by a former team lead, and the company was reviewing all past projects for compliance issues. People were stunned. The office felt like a crime scene. Quiet, tense, everyone watching their backs. Then the rumors started. Apparently, Mark had been using other people's work for years. Old clients reached out after the CEO's email, saying they'd felt like something was off. That big CRM client, the one I'd worked with. They found out Mark had been billing them for services they never got. There were discrepancies in invoices, reports that had been doctored. And guess who the CEO put in charge of the internal audit? Me. For weeks, I pored over files, reviewed old projects, and uncovered so much dirt it made my stomach turn. Mark had been a fraud. For years. And the VP? She wasn't innocent either. She'd been covering for him, smoothing over client complaints, burying negative feedback, and approving false reports without verifying the data. She wasn't just looking the other way. She was part of it. The CEO brought in outside auditors, and the whole thing blew up. By the end of the quarter, the VP was fired. Effective immediately. The head of HR got replaced. 3 senior managers resigned quietly. Mark? He tried to save himself. Reached out to clients on LinkedIn, begged for recommendations, tried to frame himself as a misunderstood leader. But the damage was done. One of the clients he burned, a major healthcare group, sued the company. Their lawyers got involved, and guess who they subpoenaed for depositions? Mark. Word got around that during his deposition, he broke down crying. Said he never meant to hurt anyone. Claimed he was under pressure. Didn't matter. He lost everything. His career was over. No one in the industry would touch him. I heard through the grapevine he tried to start his own consulting firm, but clients knew his name and avoided him like the plague. Meanwhile, I kept doing my work. Quietly, methodically, just like before. And then one day, about 6 months after it all blew up, I got another email from that big CRM client. They wanted me to fly out to New York for a face-to-face meeting. When I got there, they offered me a job. Senior Data Strategy Lead. Double the salary. Full relocation package. My name in the credits of every major report going forward. I took the offer. And on my last day at the Austin office, I packed up my desk, walked past Mark's old corner office, now empty, and the VP's old office, also empty, and I felt this quiet satisfaction deep in my chest. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to scream. I just did the work. I let the truth hit them where it hurt. And when the dust cleared, the ones who tried to bury me were the ones who got buried. Funny how that works. As for me, I'm thriving. New city, new role, new team. And I'll tell you this much, every time I walk into a meeting now, I speak up, clear and confident. Accent and all. And nobody ever questions if I belong in the room.